On today's episode of The Intangibles, we'll be kicking things off as always with the play of the game. At 12 minutes and 50 seconds, we'll answer the frequently asked question, who is your favorite NPC? And finally, at 28 minutes and 57 seconds, we'll break down the end of the 2021 Overwatch League season.
All right, welcome and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good time of day to you, listener.
Good time.
This is Matt and my brother and co-host Kenny.
Hello.
Nice to see you, Kenny. It's been a little while.
It's good to see your face.
Yeah, it's nice to hear your voice as well.
See your mustache.
Oh, it's coming in full.
Big time.
I timed it out perfectly, and made sure that it was nice and ready to go for the baby pictures when Adeline was born.
It is really funny because our dad had a glorious mustache for a lot of our baby pics, and now you are just in 100% dad mode.
And I didn't even really remember that. Like, the picture that Mom sent in Snapchat shortly after where she was comparing baby pictures, I was like, oh, yeah, Dad's got a mustache going on there too, huh? I did not mean to emulate him, but I feel great about it.
It's just the age and demo that you're at where it's like, maybe I'll try a mustache. It just happens to be when you're having a kid.
Maybe that is. It's something to do with the testosterone raging through you or something. I don't know. I definitely cannot grow don't feel comfortable growing other facial hair. The mustache is the only one that I've really looked at and thought, you know what, that looks good on me.
You got a great mustache. Mine was not so great.
You hadn't grown yours quite as long as I had either, and I feel like there is a breakthrough point. I definitely, when I was letting this grow again at the office, there were days where I would look in the mirror after going to the bathroom and think, man, do people respect me here anymore? Like, am I losing everything?
Are my peers thinking little of me right now?
But yes, it is good to be back. We missed a few weeks of recording because my wife, Veronica, gave birth to a wonderful little girl, and we've been adjusting to that. But I'm very happy to hop on and talk about some video games with you.
Heck yes. Games of all kinds.
That's right.
But mostly video games.
I like that you say that because jumping forward into the play of the game, I have a non-video game play of the game this week, and I think you're going to like it.
Here's my question, and I will edit this if you want me to going forward. Is this a play of the game that is not Veronica giving birth to your child?
It is not related to Veronica or my child at all. And now that I'm thinking about that, I hope she doesn't listen to this episode. But yeah, no, it's not it at all.
All right.
To be fair, she did some very tangible work, and I don't think I could give you an intangible play of the game from that time period.
Nice save.
Yeah, thanks. Did you hear that, honey?
All right, hit me.
So this week's play of the game, our father, Tom, the mustached man, previously mustached man, visited with Mom the weekend before Veronica was induced. And
that's right.
That Sunday, we played 9 holes of golf at River Bend Golf Course in Lisle, Illinois. You and I have played there before, actually.
Okay, I was going to ask if that
Kate.
Was the same.
Yeah, and you actually, I think, gave the play of the game to Kate that week.
Yeah, for her consistent play.
Correct, yes. So, my play of the game has to do with golf, has to do with the same golf course, but it doesn't have to do with the person. It has to do with a tree. So on hole number 6, it's a par 4. You have to hit it over a creek to get to the green. And typical me style, I'm hitting my third ball, trying to get over the creek onto the green. So if I want to par this hole, I need to get over on the green. I need to put it in, and I need to be done with it. Doesn't happen very often. So I hit a ball and I block it off to the right. It's definitely going to be right and long of the green. It's going to be maybe in water over there. But there happens to be this tree that's kind of got some sprawling branches up there. And it hits a branch just perfectly solid and just plops down to the left onto the green about 14 feet away from the hole. And I want to give the play of the game to that tree for providing me the opportunity for a par putt, which I missed and proceeded to bogey the hole. Of course, that's how it goes. But I would have had a much worse score if the tree hadn't been there to help me out. So this one's for you, tree.
Very intangible, given that it didn't actually make the difference in the shot.
I don't focus on those. I focus on the positives, Kenny.
No, that's good. That's very good. All right, well, I've got kind of a twofer, or maybe even more, for my play of the game. Very abstract this week. I am nominating for play of the game this week the concept of the mute button in all games.
I love it.
So, in particular, I thought about this because of Overwatch, which we're going to be talking about a fair amount today. But in Overwatch, they have just recently introduced, we play on PlayStation, cross-platform play. So you could be playing against people from all kinds of things. And now, all of a sudden, even though I have text chat muted on Overwatch, I see people texting and typing messages, and I really hate it. And it just made me appreciate the mute button in the other games that I play. And I thought, in addition to saying, God bless the mute button, use the mute button, it's your best friend in competitive games that you can play online, I wanted to do a quick rating of different mute buttons in different games that I play. So I'm going to start with the S tier, top of the pile, best mute button in all of games. I'm giving to Magic Arena, because in Magic Arena, you can have, by default, the ability to utterly silence everything your opponent does. Their emotes, texts, even their username. You can just have them completely silenced all the time.
Just shut them down.
That is what I do. So Magic Arena is the GOAT S tier best mute button in the business. After that, I want to give A tier to Rocket League, which we've not talked about Rocket League at all on this show. But it is, if you haven't played it, it is the best soccer game in all of video games, way better than FIFA, because it's actually soccer. It involves some athleticism, I feel. You can mute everything your opponent does in Rocket League, but the game allows you to have absolutely ridiculous usernames, really long usernames, and it's routine to see people who have an entire twitch.tv/ whatever their name is as their username. Really annoying. Although I do have to say that it does enable some great jokes. One of my favorite things in Rocket League is me and my friends, Troy and Jaren, we have a team called And Now the Cream. And whenever you win, it displays your team name. It says, And Now the Cream. And then it cuts to a shot of your cars, which you can then do backflips, and you can shoot your propulsion, whatever it is.
Yeah,
and we have the
jizz all over everybody, right?
White cream all over the screen. And so, but that's why I'm saying it's not as good, because you can still troll people.
Yeah.
It's not so good. League of Legends. You can turn off all chat and enemy emotes by default, which is good. You don't have to listen to your opponent say anything. But your opponents still have the ability to taunt, dance, laugh, those kinds of things, which you can mute, but you have to do it manually per game on a game-by-game basis. So that's not so good. You can also mute your allies by default, but then you can't type to them either, which is only fair, but it definitely reduces the power of the mute button. So League of Legends is a B tier. And actually, Overwatch is the worst, I would say, especially with the changes that they have made. Because anyone can spam random voice lines as much as they want, and there's no ability to stop that. With the introduction of cross-platform, as I said, you can't even mute the in-game text chat. So Overwatch is D tier. It's not a very good mute system, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up, because I think there is a way to shut down voice lines and stuff in Overwatch. But like you said, I think it's a game-by-game basis where you have to squelch chat. And playing on console, it's kind of impossible in a game to go in.
It just takes too much effort.
Yeah. If you're serious about trying to win and play with your team, you literally have to go into the menu and basically sit still for 30 seconds or whatever while you find that and squelch somebody just to get them off of your stuff. So
right. And League is kind of the same, but in League, which is on PC, you just hit tab and click a button and you're done.
Yeah, I think being on console, we're just at a disadvantage with a lot of that stuff. And I really hope that I hope it's a bug rather than a feature right now, that text comes through when you're cross-playing with people on PC. Because, of course, PC players are going to type a lot more bullshit than a PlayStation or an Xbox player is. Like, you have a keyboard and you can just type in whatever trash, toxicity crap you want to at a moment's notice.
Totally.
So that definitely is an adjustment. I feel like we've been sheltered from it in Overwatch.
We have been. It's been great.
Which has been lovely, yeah. Like, we basically don't experience toxicity in the game other than watching people hard throw without being able to, yell at us.
Even
or
then,
say
they can't say anything.
Yeah, exactly. So
it is funny in Overwatch that happened, and I thought, you know what? I didn't have a problem finding matches when I was just playing with other PlayStation players, so I turned off cross-platform matchmaking, and it took forever as soon as I did that to find matches.
Interesting. I wonder if that's their way of, their subtle, I put in quotations, way of trying to encourage the crossplay.
I guess it is, because it took 5 minutes to find a match, and I was like, that's just not acceptable.
It has to all be circling around Overwatch 2, I'm sure, too, right? They're trying to get more people in the servers, have a little bit more interest generated, more games being played, so that when Overwatch 2 releases, it has a successful launch.
I'm sure that's right. And that's fine, because I think as soon as Overwatch 2 drops, I'm going to make the switch to PC.
Yeah. Ooh, man, I've played a little Overwatch on PC, and it's I'm just not used to WASD, man.
It's a different beast.
It absolutely is. I like that. I think the mute, it's a piece of advice that I see. It would be a good FAQ, honestly. A piece of advice I see all the time with new players, where they ask about toxicity and this kind of thing. And anybody who's played this game or competitive games for a while will just tell you, especially when you're just learning, turn it all off. Don't listen to anybody. Just play to get better. Play to have fun. Totally. And like you can focus on the team coordination stuff later if you want to, and if you don't want to, that's okay too. Like, if you don't want to play quick play and just enjoy yourself, mute everybody and have a good time.
Totally. Yep, would definitely recommend.
Very nice. Well, I think we've got some good plays of the game this week. I'll be interested to see what our fans think is the true play of the game. And Veronica,
we'll see.
Veronica, if you're listening to this episode, please vote for me. Like I said, dude, it was very tangible what you did, and I did nothing. I sat around, I ate snacks.
You really should have given yourself the intangible play.
Yeah, that could have been a good one. I also think that would have gotten me into even more trouble. Well, excellent. So, all right. Well, moving forward, let's talk about
question.
FAQ? With this, what is this? Is this a level up? I don't even know what it is.
No, it's the frequently asked question. We actually have our very first real life question from a listener of the show, friend of the show, friend of the me, Seth, asked us a question, and he asked us, "Who is your favorite NPC from a video game?" Which I thought was a great question.
Yeah, it turned out to be more difficult than I expected it to be. And I think part of that is like me putting my own kind of boundaries on this question. Because when I think of an NPC, I think of a role-playing game for the most part. When I think of an NPC, really, I think of playing Dungeon World or D&D and those kind of games.
Right.
You've got an NPC who you're interacting with, and they contribute something to the game, right?
Right.
And I had a hard time with this because a lot of the NPCs that I thought of initially were bosses, and they add stuff to the story, and they're important to the story, but they're also a boss, and I felt like I needed to differentiate and not choose that kind of character for this. So
right. Not an opponent, like a true NPC neutral character.
Right. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, because I was kind of in the same boat, because I was thinking of something like Robo Sonic from Sonic CD.
Yeah.
I thought it was a cool NPC, but he's, like you're saying, it's just also a villain. Also, you don't interact with him really at all, except for the race.
Right.
So it's like, is that a good answer? I don't think so.
He's definitely one that I thought of as well. Mikolash, Host of the Nightmare, was one of the very first ones I thought of. And I thought of Mikolash because he's essential to the story.
Definitely.
His voice lines and his dialogue and everything.
Hilarious.
Oh, it's so entertaining, but also so like spot on for who he is in that lore. And the whole experience of being in the nightmare with him and ending the nightmare and all that stuff. I really just value his character.
He's such a meme, and also reveals so much about the lore at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So like he was one of the very first people I thought of when I thought of an NPC. And again, he's a boss in the game that you have to defeat to progress. So I couldn't do that. I couldn't go all in on Mikolash.
He's a pretty lame boss, though.
Yeah, he's one of those kind of stupid, puzzly bosses, kind of. And then you also have to go fight him, and he's got the Call from Beyond that just blows your brains out. Yeah, he's a bit of a turd when it comes down to it.
Yeah,
but I love the character. Yeah, I love the character.
Oh,
I'm waking up. Oh gosh. So
where did you land?
Very good question. I landed on, and I mentioned to you before we actually started this recording that I've been playing Dark Souls 3 quite a bit in the wee hours while Adeline is sleeping or not sleeping or whatever. And I landed on Patches. And I landed on Patches because, not because I enjoy Patches so much, but because I find him...
Who does?
Yeah, exactly. I find him fascinating and kind of quirky in that From Software has put some incarnation of him into basically all of their games other than Sekiro. I didn't run into a Patches in Sekiro as far as I know.
Don't think so.
And I had to look this up a little bit because I've not played all of the Dark Souls games, but he appears in a bunch of them, and he is essentially this like cowardly, mischievous NPC who loves to try to trick you.
He's a trickster. Yeah,
he loves to kick you into pits. Like that's like his theme is he likes to kick you down into a pit where you are going to be attacked by either a mob of bad guys or a boss. So I'll kind of go through the incarnations that I looked at recently as well as the ones that I played. So in Demon Souls, which is the very first of the Souls series, he tricks you into trying to grab an item that leads you to be ambushed by a bear bug. So immediately there, he's like, oh, here's a wonderful item for you, and you get attacked and probably die if it's your first playthrough of the game, right? Also in Demon Souls, he kicks you off of a ledge and basically has some voice lines where he relishes in the fact that he's going to steal all of your belongings after you starve to death in this pit. In Dark Souls, he sets off a trap while you're crossing a bridge, so there's a bunch of like booby traps that go off while you're trying to get across a bridge. He also kicks you, again, down into a pit filled with hollowed clerics.
Right.
He loves his pits. In Bloodborne, he kicks you into Amygdala's pit. You have to fight Amygdala after he kicks you in there, I think. Is that right?
It's two things. First of all, he's the one that says, oh, Amygdala, have mercy on the poor bastard. He tricks you into being taken by Amygdala, and then he's on the Nightmare Frontier and as a Spider-Man and will kick you off of a cliff as well.
And that's something I didn't touch on either. His appearance in all of the games is similar. He's like this bald-headed, kind of slender-headed guy. In Bloodborne, he's a spider body, but with that same head. So when you run into Patches, when you see his face, you know you've run into Patches. Dark Souls 3, I just encountered him the other day. There's a church kind of area that you're in, and as part of it, he's dressed in the armor of this guy named Sigurd, who helps you fight a fire demon early in the game. So he's like an ally. He helps you out. You kind of become friends. He helps you win
I assume this is an Onion Knight guy.
Yes, exactly. He helps you get a fire gem, basically, kind of early in the game. So he's standing there in this Onion Knight guy outfit, and you talk with him, and he says, oh, look down over that ledge, and he kicks you into a pit with a giant that you then have to fight. Apparently there's another spot in the game where he does try to lock you in a bell tower near the shrine to screw you over there. So he's this asshole, basically, that you run into in all these games. He kind of teaches you to not trust NPCs and not trust other people in the game in general. And usually in the games, he turns into some sort of merchant where you can then buy some sort of positive stuff from him.
But he's always a shitty merchant.
Yeah.
He tries to sell you things overcosted.
Yes. that is also true. So yeah, he's kind of a turd. He does turn into somebody who can aid you in a certain way. But I just really enjoy the fact that they've kind of threaded him through all of these different games. They've given him a single identity kind of through all those too. You know, he is a similar character when it comes down to it through all of them. And
yeah, which is great fodder for people who love the whole thing of all of the Souls games are in the same universe. Whoa.
Yeah, I think it's more they like to reuse property, and again, he kind of teaches you a good lesson when you run into him the very first time.
Yeah, they have a handful of things that are common threads through all their games. Some of it is just, I think, the creators of the games like certain imagery, like the world tree. It shows up in lots of their games. I don't think it has any consistent meaning other than they just like the imagery, they like the idea. And then there's things like Patches, who's obviously like the same type of character and even the same guy in the games. There's like the Moonlight Sword, which appears in many of their games. I just think they have certain through lines. I do like it too because I think it's a great Souls trope because, like you say, you learn to distrust this guy, and then you play one of their games and you are waiting to run into Patches, and maybe he's not even in the game, like in Sekiro. Kind of reminds me of Mimics. Lots of their games have mimic chests, and I remember playing Bloodborne, and you don't see chests forever, and then you finally see some chests in the game, and you're like, oh, come on. Do they really have mimics in Bloodborne? And they don't. There's not a single mimic chest in Bloodborne, but they have you on edge just because you know of that consistency across the games.
It's so funny you talk about that because I played Bloodborne first, and then I've been playing Dark Souls 3, and I didn't know mimics were a thing. And so I think the very first chest they put in that game is a fucking mimic, and, and something like 70.
And they're brutal.
They will fuck
Dark Souls
you up.
3.
Yeah, they will fuck, and they drop really good items. But early in the game, you just get your ass kicked by them. Even late in the game, you get your ass kicked by them. I would say like 3/4 of chests are mimics in the game, in my experience, and it sucks because it's like you need to open it. You basically go in and you just try to attack a chest before you do anything, and if it doesn't turn into a big old mouth with legs, okay, great, I got an item. And if it does, you just run away and find an arena.
Hope not to die.
Yeah, find an arena that you can actually fight the turd in.
Well, that's a good segue. My favorite NPC is the Mimic. My favorite NPC is from Soulsborne games. It's Eileen the Crow. I think you and I presented Seth's FAQ as like favorite NPC, and I think you called immediately as like, are you going to go with Eileen? And yeah, absolutely. Eileen is my girl. Loved her the first time I spoke with her in the game. The accent is amazing. The costume is amazing. She has this instantly iconic visual design with the plague mask and the pointed cap and the feather cape. You've got a Hunter muss Hunt. Like, there's a reason that she's become that meme in Bloodborne. She has, like, the most classic, tragic-ass Soulsborne questline that you could ask for, where she is trying to be merciful and put down hunters that have gone mad with bloodlust. And she's old, which is cool. It's cool that her whole questline, basically, is that she's past her prime, but she's still doing this job because she is invested in it. She believes in it. And she's one of the few characters you encounter who can remain just pure and true all the way through the quest line with her. Her mind can stay fully intact the whole way through. Though it does turn out pretty tragic. You can meet her pretty early in the game, and she feels like an elder mentor to you. And she's one of the few people who offers good advice and clarity on what's going on in Yharnam. Like, everyone else in town has treated you like absolute shit up to this point. When you knock on doors, they're like, "Oh, wretched outsider, piss off." And you talk to her, and she's like, "Prepare yourself for the worst. Like, everyone's been turned into blood-mad beasts. There are no humans left." She's like one of the few people who will just deal with you straight. And she's great. She's great. I don't have a lot to say. She's amazing. She's one of the core elements of the game for me. She's a great
like quest line, I guess, too, in the sense that there's like one of two outcomes, basically, right? She needs to kill you because you are a bloodlusted hunter, or you have to help her kill some other hunter, basically, who's losing it, who's maimed her. She's about to die on the steps of the church, right? And then you have to go kill this guy.
And he is the biggest asshole to fight in the game, maybe.
We've talked about this before. Any of the human enemies that you fight, for the most part in the games, are so much worse than the big monster enemies. Because they don't have the big telegraphed attacks. They sit there, they're fast-paced, they fuck you up. You have to fight them like just a completely different style. And
Definitely.
so the weapon that you get from Eileen the Crow, the Blades of Mercy, are probably the best weapon in the game, based on our last playthrough, to deal with those kind of enemies, right? Which makes a ton of sense from a lore standpoint. Yeah. There's such a good, quick, just dexterity-focused weapon. It feels like cheating a little bit. Like, that weapon was ridiculous.
It feels like cheating against the hunters. It's not as good against big bosses and, like, giant dogs, which, again, like you're saying, makes total sense for the hunter of hunters. Mm-hmm. She's good at hunting hunters. That's what she's built for.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. Eileen's great. I also thought you might go Lady Maria, which she's not really an NPC so much. Again, she's like just a true boss in the DLC, more or less.
I think if I were going to go that route, I would have said the doll instead, because the doll is actually a really cool character in a lot of ways. She's definitely more... I think Eileen has my heart, though, because Eileen isn't involved with the lore so much. I just love her story. Although Eileen is involved in the lore because she used to be a dreamer. She used to be part of the Hunter's Dream, which is interesting.
Well, not only that, wasn't she one of... So, like, when you're playing the DLC, isn't she someone who, like, dropped her weapon in the well after that whole... the Hamlet village situation where they found Koss or whatever.
Are you talking about Maria?
Is that Maria who did that?
Yes, it's her her blood weapon she left in the well because she was so sick of what the hunters had done.
Yes, that's right. Okay.
But yeah, Eileen tells you it's like when you're getting to the end of her quest and she's lying bloody on the stairs to the cathedral. She says, there are no more dreams for me. Like, this is it. Like, so she's telling you, I used to be part of the dream, and that not anymore. So when I die, I won't wake up again. I'll just be dead. And that's like, it's her, and then also Jura, nobody's favorite NPC, with the Gatling gun.
The machine gun from the tower. Yeah. The guy you have to cheese to fall off the tower just to beat, basically.
Yeah. He also was part of the dream.
Man, what a good game.
Someday, dear listener, we will do a 10-part series on Bloodborne.
I feel like that's about right.
Ready for a rules-light, narrative-failing forward, collaborative storytelling tabletop role-playing game?
Unsure of where to start?
Powered by the Players is an actual play podcast featuring mini campaigns and one-shots of all your favorite Powered by the Apocalypse games.
Each campaign or one-shot will be a different PBTA game with a rotating cast of diverse players. We've got Masks, a teenage superhero drama.
Bluebeard's Bride, a feminist horror retelling.
Monster of the Week, a supernatural mystery.
Escape from Dino Island, a Jurassic Park-inspired adventure.
Crossroads Carnival, a Depression-era sideshow noir.
The next game we play could be yours, so join Morgan, Kristen, and Diana.
And let's power up.
Follow us on Twitter at PBT Players.
Subscribe on your favorite podcatcher.
Oh, let's break it down! Why are you so angry?
All right. Ready to get to our main topic?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do the breakdown. All right. So this week we are talking about the Summer Showdown.
We're kind of doing a combo of catching up on the Summer Showdown and looking forward to the Countdown Cup, which has already started up.
That's right. Yes, and for those of you who are not aware, this is Overwatch tournaments, and we're getting close to kind of the grand finale of everything. So the Countdown Cup will be the final tournament before things are
playoffs and championship.
Exactly. So I had to rewatch the grand finals today, actually, because it had been so long since I'd watched it and taken my notes. I wanted to make sure I was a little bit more fresh on it.
Did you watch with my drinking game commentary?
I did not. I didn't even think about that, and honestly, if I had, I don't know, I might have drank with you and then not been coherent during this. During this.
I had to alter my rules pretty quickly.
I'll have to take a look at it and see how intense it was. I did enjoy it. I guess my overarching thoughts. It was very cool to see a team in the grand finals who were not really expected to be there, in my opinion. To see Chengdu make their way to the grand finals. They played pretty well throughout the tournament, and they had some flashes during this grand finals match. But Shanghai still just looks like possibly the best team in the league. I mean, they're
the team to beat.
Yeah, they're crushing it. They're doing a great job.
Yeah, that was my first note. Was like Summer Showdown finals. It's not Dallas versus Shanghai, but it is still Shanghai. It was not a bad series to watch at all. It was definitely enjoyable. Didn't feel like a landslide. It has a good arc to it where it's like Chengdu actually like seems to get an edge that you weren't expecting early on, and then Shanghai kind of figures them out as things go along.
I would agree with that entirely. Chengdu had them map 1, at Ilios. It was awesome to watch. They come through on top of that, even in the second map. Which was Anubis. It looked like they were going to get that, and it did not turn out their way. And then it seemed like Shanghai kind of figured them out after that. Shanghai made some switches towards the end of that Anubis map. They kind of carried those forward, and Chengdu couldn't really get past it after that. They eventually started to really try to throw some shit at the wall late in the match, and it just didn't really work out for them.
Which, to their credit, they needed to try different things.
Yeah.
Map 1, the first note I had was it's Pharah versus Pharah, Fleta versus Jinmu. And I was like, good luck. I literally took the note, good luck going against Fleta in the air. And they did. Like, they took it to Fleta. It just felt like, especially in map 1 of Ilios at the lighthouse, they were just so focused on keeping Fleta down, which is great. Like, that's what you need to do. They had hacks on him constantly. Jinmu had this amazing mid-air rocket battle with him, gets Ana ulted, I think, and then shoots him in the head, just takes him out. It's like, whew, that's what you got to do.
I was really worried. So right when that match starts, Fleta takes Jinmu out. Just takes him out immediately. And Jinmu gets rezzed, but like with that first interaction, I was like, okay, they're going to have to change.
How are you going to go against
They're going to have to change this up. I don't know if he's going to go Echo or go some other route to try to 1v1. But he gets rezzed, and he comes back, and he starts dealing with him. That kind of little 1v1 situation, they kept Fleta out of the situation. And then once Fleta was out, Jinmu was contributing to the other fight wherever it was. He was getting picks. He was pushing people back. He was focusing on some of the supports, trying to keep them out of the fight, and it worked for them. They pushed him out. It was a real back and forth fight. Like, Shanghai held the point until they were, I think, 78 or 80% on it, and then finally Chengdu, even though it felt like they won the fight like 20% before that, finally flips it and then kind of carried it forward from there.
I'm glad you said, too, like, wherever the fight goes, because especially on this first map, the fights were very spread out. There was always multi-front battle going on with, like, different factions of the teams fighting in different parts of the map, which was really cool to see, honestly. And the other thing I had on this first map is Late Young on Diva for Chengdu felt ridiculous.
I honestly, like, in the other matches in the tournament too, like, his diva play has just been phenomenal. His peel for his teammates is fantastic. He seems to just know, maybe their comms are super good, I don't know, but he flips around and helps out where he needs to. He helps secure those kills where they're focusing. His defense matrix usage is always very good. Like, he was just very consistent, And I had the exact same note that Late Young turned it on.
His baby diva was insane too. they had good camera work on him where he got like a lot of damage and a lot of kills as baby diva, especially on the first map.
It's always fun to watch. I feel like there's a lot of Mercy play, and there was a play in this particular map where I forget who was playing Mercy for Chengdu. Yveltal, right? I think it was Yveltal. Regardless, they had a situation where they got they kind of floated around and got a res that I just didn't expect them to get. And there was just little plays like that from the support line that I felt like really helped Chengdu stay in the fight and win that first map.
Definitely. And then I think support continued to be important into map 2, where Zenyatta was very big. And I took a note early on that Sombra and Zenyatta have seemed very important for Chengdu early on because they just are so good at securing picks, where it's like hack somebody, discord somebody, orb them, they're dead. Especially on the very slippery Fleta. Like, they had, especially towards the end, there was a crazy play right at the end where they got Fleta on Tracer. I think the Sombra kills him almost like sight unseen. Like, it was a prediction on where he was going to rewind to. And just a classic pick off. And it's like, at this point, it felt like, wow, they seem to have a good beat on Fleta. And it was like, I mean, we'll see where this goes, but it was very impressive.
I definitely enjoyed and thought after that map, Chengdu wins 2-0. I'm thinking, all right, this is looking good. And then they come out on Anubis, and Chengdu rolls that first point. They roll right through, they have no problems. It's looking great for them. And they just kind of stalled out on the second one. You know, they tried, and it speaks to me. I was watching it, and that map just sucks. It's hard to snowball into that second point and really capture the whole thing, or even capture a significant percentage of it.
And when you do, it just feels like luck as far as the timing goes.
Yeah.
Like, I never feel like, oh, wow, they did really well. Or when I win on Anubis, for that matter, attacking, it's like, it's just so, like, rhythm, momentum, like, you don't feel like you're in control of your own destiny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was a very close map, Anubis.
It was. And Shanghai really just kind of stacked ultimates on their attack, and they had a really good EMP from Lip, followed by a manual hack from Lip on Gaga, who was playing Wrecking Ball for Chengdu. There was a Reaper ult that was thrown in the mix there. And basically all of that kind of combined, thrown at the point, it was too much, and they didn't even actually have to win the full point, right? They just had to get to 70% or something like that, and that was enough. Mm-hmm. So it still didn't feel like Shanghai had them figured out at that point. And then Eichenwald,
it still felt up in the air.
Yeah, Eichenwald happened, and they made some adjustments, and things did not go Chengdu's way at all.
Nope. The note I have is this map isn't close. Shanghai seems completely in control the entire time, despite Chengdu's 7-game win streak on the map. Like, they flashed that stat up there. They've had such a good streak, and it just never felt like they were anywhere in that game.
Yeah, it was interesting to me to see. So Shanghai drew this up. I don't know what their thought process was, but they said, we're going to switch to Winston on tank. We're going to Lucio for speed boost. We're going to Ana for our main heals. And we're going to throw a Reaper in there too.
Well, the funny thing about the Reaper, Fleta had not looked like he wasn't doing much in the series so far. And then he switches to Reaper, basically stays on Reaper the rest of the entire series, and just completely rocks them to the core. Yep. And to me, it's like, that's exactly what I do when they start pulling out the Sombra, when they start pulling out the stuff that's trying to pick you apart. Going to Reaper is great because it's like, I don't care if you hack me, I'm just going to keep shooting you in the face. And that's what he does the entire time after this. Yeah,
and he had great support. He had that speed boost going for him, so he could just kind of move around and shoot people in the head. Again, Ana with that heavy healing, it just worked for them. They just pushed and just didn't really have a problem.
Yep. So that one's pretty trivial after that. Then we get map 4, Route 66. Chengdu pulls out Reaper. They also get Torbjorn and Reinhardt. Reinhardt hasn't really been in the series so far. It's very different from what we've seen, and it seems to be working from the start. They push very quickly to the final checkpoint, but they get stalled in the doorway of the final checkpoint and never move beyond there. And then we get a huge EMP from Lip, and that's game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my big notes from Route 66 was that Lip played Hanzo and was absolutely just roasting people with headshots on Hanzo. He was just getting these random picks with Hanzo that were so effective, so impactful. It helped them just keep pushing that cart when he was on Hanzo.
If I'm remembering right, he was like not effective at all, and then he would land a random headshot.
Yep, 100%.
That would just turn things.
And if you watched his camera angle for a lot of it, it was just kind of like, eh. But exactly, he would one-shot Tracer or Sombra or whatever out of there, and again, the cart would just keep on pushing because of it.
And then map 5 is Nepal. Chengdu has to win the map to keep it going. The first point is very, very close. It goes 99% to 99%. The hunters use a nano boost on Lucio at the end, which seems like maybe it was just a misclick. We don't really know.
Yeah, I think it probably was an accident, but who knows?
And that, I think if that Ana boost had been used appropriately, things might have turned out differently because it was so close. And then point 2, Chengdu gets to 99% to 0, and then Shanghai takes it. You get some tense fights, and then Chengdu C9.
Yep, yeah,
they
just don't touch. They're starting to win that fight too. You know, they take Fade out. I think they hacked Echo, but no one's watching the point, and it ticks down, and game's over. I thought it was interesting too on this final map that Chengdu subs in Ameng on Wrecking Ball, and I didn't think Gaga had any issues. I thought Gaga was playing pretty well, and so I just found it curious that they decided that Ameng was the answer here. Maybe they just felt that something wasn't working and they needed to switch something up. I felt like it led to more chaotic play. Ameng was just a little bit more all over the place, a little less team fight oriented, and I know Wrecking Ball is not really going to necessarily be there in the middle of a team fight all the time, but he just felt like he was kind of all over the place, and it was just an interesting, I guess, way to try to solve their problem, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't hate it, because the thing is, on map 5, like I said, the first point came down to potentially just a misclick of the Ana ult, which if that had been used appropriately, maybe they win. Mm-hmm. And then point 2, just bad communication. Somebody just needed to touch the point, and they could have been in that too.
Yep.
So, I mean, this is the best that Chengdu looked since early on in the series, as far as like their potential for winning the map.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just like two kind of unlucky misplays. So I don't know. I don't dislike the switch, and this series is one of those classic like sports things where the score doesn't reflect how close it felt, because ultimately Shanghai wins it with Chengdu only taking one map, but it felt a lot closer than that, given that Chengdu started with a win and came close here at the end to keeping the series going.
Yep, yeah, definitely. It was fun. I liked seeing Chengdu. I love seeing Chengdu in these kind of things. They're always interesting to watch, I think, in my opinion. And
yeah, for sure.
They clearly have some stars on the team, some people who play really high-level Overwatch.
Definitely.
And Shanghai just still is, they're just consistent. They're good. They seem analytical. They seem to be able to look at a match and look at a team and say, we need to make a change. Let's try this. And until the other team figures out how to address it, they keep it going and they beat you down.
They definitely remind me of the old school Korean teams in League of Legends, where you would take a game or two off of them early, and then they would figure you out, make the adjustments, and they would just be this relentless juggernaut that would grind you down until they won. I don't know. It was cool. It was cool to see someone other than Dallas fighting Shanghai. So
yeah, it was fun to watch Chengdu beat Dallas in the tournament match. There was this crazy play. God, I wish I could remember which teams. It was Shanghai versus Chengdu maybe in a previous match, and Sombra on Windmill and Ilios throws her translocator out over empty space.
Pit?
Yeah, basically. It wasn't even the pit. It's empty space, off to the side next to the windmill to EMP and try to take down the Mercy and Farah who are floating out there. And Mercy drops to her death. I think Farah is able to land on a ledge. But it was just a hilarious, this is a play I'm committed to.
Try at a play.
And Sombra dies from it. She translocates out into the middle,
Right.
throws the EMP out, and just falls to her death. So it was a 1-for-1 trade. But it could have been a 2-for-1 trade that would have been so worth it. It was just funny and cool to see that very strange play.
To go for it, yeah.
Well, let's talk Countdown Cup. So I have not watched.
Let's talk about breadsticks.
Yes, cheesy garlic breadsticks from Domino's Pizza. They're
From Pizza Hut, you scum.
I can't remember who our sponsors are.
No, I'm talking about breadsticks because of the Vancouver Titans.
What about the Vancouver Titans?
Okay, so I'll catch Matt and the listener up if you don't know this meme. So this is wonderful. I've been watching a bunch of the Countdown Cup qualifiers. This is more Overwatch than I've watched for the previous tournaments, where I've basically just watched the finals. And it's been really fun. Last time I watched the Vancouver Titans in any regard is when they were just absolutely dominating everything. When they were just the unstoppable god kings of Overwatch. That time has long since passed, and they are actually dog ass this season. They had not won a single game, actually. And they had partnered with Pizza Hut in Canada, and the partnership originally was this promo where if they got to a Game 5 in a series, free breadsticks for every Vancouver fan in Canada at Pizza Hut. They did not get it. They did not get it for... They weren't even getting to Game 4, let alone Game 5. And so eventually they were like, okay, if a support gets an environmental kill, free breadsticks. They couldn't get that. And so eventually they introduced this 3x3 bingo grid of random events that could happen in game. And if they got a bingo, free breadsticks. And the first game I was watching, the first map, they get the breadsticks on the very first map. And I didn't know what was happening. All I knew was one of the shoutcasters like, "It's fucking breadsticks, mate! It's breadsticks for everyone, all the Vancouver fans!" And I was like, what is happening? And so I had to look up what this meme was about the breadsticks.
I googled it, and I'm looking at a post from June 26th for breadstick bingo right now, and it is pretty incredible. Lucio Boop, map 5, Diva remake a limb, 3 Linkser critical hits. If you get 3 Titans in a row in any direction, you get free breadsticks.
The free breadsticks are in. And the casters were so excited. I didn't understand because, I don't watch live. I watch the YouTube, and so I can skip through all the stupid BS in between games and skip all the nonsense. And I did see while I was scanning through the YouTube, I saw the bingo card. I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't care. And then they mentioned in the first map the breadsticks, and I was like, we've done it already. And so then I had to investigate and see what all this was about. And it was pretty hilarious. And then, funnily enough, Vancouver, who have not won a single game, sweeps Boston and gets their first series win. And they were so happy and excited afterwards. The cams are it's so wholesome. They're so pleased to have won. It was actually pretty cool.
Oh my gosh. Vancouver Titans, this is not a drill. Breadsticks for everyone. Yeah, they got a bingo on, let's take a look at it here. It looks like double pulse bomb and a pile driver in limb. And then they got the bingo square in the middle. So, oh my gosh.
It was on Busan. They just absolutely cruised through it.
I can only imagine. So I'm Googling this, and there's a meme that pops up. Let's get this bread attributed to Dalton in parentheses, probably. And it's just a picture of Dalton with breadsticks raining down behind him.
It's so fun. This is the best part of esports in my mind, is this kind of thing.
That's amazing. I had no idea.
I didn't either until I watched the series, and then what's his name, Leslie, was just losing his fucking mind about the breadsticks. I was like, damn, what's happening?
He would be the right caster to scream and yell about free breadsticks for everybody.
But anyway, other than that, I mean, I've just been enjoying watching the game so far. It does seem, I will say that it seems like the bottom teams are extremely bottom. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of teams that do not stand a chance of getting anything at this point, which is kind of unfortunate. I think comparing it to League of Legends this season, in the LCS, I should say, North America, it's been a very exciting season, and even the bottom teams have made some adjustments and have worked their way up, and it was very exciting towards, we're just now getting into playoffs. It was very uncertain, like some of these bottom teams were making their way up and had chances, and some of them got into the playoffs. And it feels like in Overwatch, there are teams that are very, very clearly at the front and teams that are very, very clearly in the back. Which, you know, that's kind of unavoidable in some seasons, but yeah, I mean, this is the first I've seen anything Vancouver in ages, and I actually saw them in this game, and I was like, what happened, Vancouver? You were gods at one point. Yeah,
it does feel like there's a handful of teams with all of the power in the league. And I don't know if that's a product of... I mean, obviously different teams are making different recruiting moves and things. I'm not exactly sure what the big driver for that is. The one thing that I took note of so far, and I've only watched 2 matches, is the hero bans. So there's hero bans in the Countdown Cup, and
they're pretty impactful bans as well.
Some of them are. So they banned
no Echo,
which I think is probably the most.
The big one.
Lucio is probably also tied there as the most impactful.
But Ashe is out.
Ashe is out, which Ashe hasn't been used a ton this year, I wouldn't say. I feel like the mid-range and long-range hit scans just haven't really been a huge part of the main fights that occur in these matches. I mean, she's definitely been there, but I don't think she's been a huge part of it.
That's interesting, because in what I've watched so far, McCree is pretty ubiquitous so far.
Really?
He's been played a lot.
He wasn't involved basically at all in the Summer Showdown, which I thought was fascinating. He was obviously in a really good place before this too. And I feel like, again, you see Widowmaker pulled out at the beginning of maps when they go for a quick attempt at one pick, and then, okay, nothing happens, switch to a different DPS, move on. And I feel like Ashe is kind of the same. Ashe was actually used by Chengdu in the first map in Ilios, not the very first one, but the second one, Ruins. And she was kind of effective. She was putting shots on the enemy Sombra, kind of able to put that mid-range pressure where they couldn't really get to her. But I don't feel like I've seen her a ton. And then the Sigma ban, I feel like, is the least impactful. We haven't seen a lot of Sigma, I wouldn't say.
No.
Double Shield hasn't been a big part of the meta right now. I think Winston has played a ton more. Diva's played a ton more. Zarya's played a ton more.
Reinhardt's fallen off a cliff.
Yep, Reinhardt's gone. Wrecking Ball's been played a ton. Those are the 4 tanks I would say that you see all the time right now, and Sigma being out of the...
Diva's ubiquitous, Wrecking Ball's ubiquitous, and then you get Winston kind of filling in that
Winston,
gap.
Zarya tossed in there.
Orisa.
Yeah, Orisa we've seen a little bit, but yeah, I haven't seen any Double Shield, haven't really seen a lot of Sigma, and I don't think that's going to be a big impact, but...
I agree. I think the shields have kind of fallen off because the fights feel so fragmented. You don't see people collecting at one location as much.
Yeah, you get a lot more deathmatchy style play, a lot more 1v1, trying to get the pick, trying to get that one person out of the team fight and progress.
Which is why you see Ball, Diva, like those make sense as skirmishy kind of tanks. Mm-hmm. It's been fun. I've really been enjoying the gameplay of the Cup so far.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch more. There's been a ton of matches, and I am behind. I'm actually not even sure. Do you know when the actual tournament is?
I don't.
I'll look it up right now.
(19th to 21st). My moving weekend.
There you go.
Yeah, it's coming up. It definitely feels like Battle of the Titans. Like at the top of the pile, got Shanghai. You've got Dallas still lurking around. Like the teams that are doing well have very positive records, and the teams at the bottom have very negative records. So it'll be exciting to see.
I'm definitely pumped for it. I'm gonna have to catch up on these qualifier matches and then see how the tournament goes.
All right, sweet. Well, what a show! What a time it's been to be alive. I enjoyed while you were giving birth, you personally, Matt. I enjoyed watching the game and having my commentary / drinking game, so I might indulge in that once again when I get the chance. So that was really fun.
Maybe we could do a combo.
Co-stream.
I was going to say, we both watch, we both participate in it, see how messy it gets, and just have a good time.
Wow, sounds amazing.
Excellent. Well, thank you, dear listener, for listening to this wonderful podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Kenny.
We are intangible, except when we're not.